NFL discipline will be resolved. Obviously, Mark Sanchez is there. Skip, what do you make of Kubiak speaking with Johnny?
Stephen A. Smith, as Molly just pointed out, and I'll take it one step further. Obviously, the Broncos are in rather desperate need of a quarterback. I can't remember a defending champ in more desperate need of a quarterback than the Broncos currently find themselves in this sort of predicament. Obviously, Peyton retired. Osweiler shocked them, I believe, by taking the money, running all the way to Houston. They did sign Mark Sanchez, but now they're going back and forth with the Colin Kaepernick, who reportedly will not take a cut in salary, which also indicates to me that if the Broncos aren't willing to accept him without a cut in pay, they must not be that sold on Colin Kaepernick. So, yes, this was maybe a month or so ago. Gary Kubiak had a talk with Johnny Manziel. Now, in context, as you well know, Gary Kubiak played quarterback at Texas A&M, where obviously Johnny played quarterback. Gary Kubiak is an Aggie through and through. His final season was 1982, but he obviously keeps in close touch with many people in Aggie land around College Station who have sung the praises of Johnny football, making all the magic that we all know that he made at Texas A&M. The legend of Johnny lives on. It's sort of the house that he built, that stadium that you were in, what was it, not too long ago, right? Mm-hmm. Like a month or so ago, you actually did a show from that stadium, as I recall. The house that Johnny built.
Yes, I did. It was unbelievable.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
So I do think that Gary Kubiak, let's say a month or so ago, had some genuine interest in at least exploring the possibility of signing Johnny down the road, because we all know another grand jury has been convened in Dallas, Texas, and we're not sure what the outcome will be of that grand jury as it concerns charges against Johnny involving domestic violence. So will the league eventually suspend Johnny Manziel? We don't know exactly what's going to come out of that. I assume they will. Next year could just be a wash. And by the way, a condition of these discussions that they had, any team I think that has talked to Johnny recently is having the same sort of conditional discussions. Johnny has to undergo some sort of weekly counseling if in fact he's ever going to sign with the Denver Broncos. So bottom line, I think the interest maybe a month ago was pretty genuine. I also think it has diminished, and I'll tell you why. If I were to write a handbook for a controversial quarterback on how not to get signed in the NFL, I would give you Johnny's itinerary over the last month or so. Hasn't it been night after night video, TMZ video of Johnny in the club in Miami, and then he's in the club in, I don't know, I can't keep up, Austin and Dallas and Las Vegas, and finally in Los Angeles. I have been told that Johnny is
Hollywood.
Now Hollywood. He's living in Hollywood. That's what I'm told. He's living 3 blocks off Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. Molly knows it very well.
Yes, there's a lot going on there.
I am also told. Go ahead.
You didn't have to give that detail. People on Sunset might be looking for him now. You know,
maybe.
Hollywood is good enough.
Oh, it's pretty easy to find Johnny football.
Ahead,
yeah,
it is.
Yeah. I'm also told that Josh Gordon has been in Hollywood hanging out with Johnny, has been either staying with him or living in his new place in Hollywood. I'm not sure about that detail, but he is there with Johnny. I'm sure they're working out by day together. God only knows what they're doing by night together.
Working out.
Working out, that's right. Because we all know Josh Gordon has had his demons, Johnny has his demons. Again, they're very close to each other. We all wish that we could have seen them on the football field throwing and catching passes together as Cleveland Browns, and that never, unfortunately, happened for Johnny Manziel. So now I'm thinking, wow, these guys are together. And again, I like the heck out of both of them, but together they are a scary match. I think anybody would agree with that. I'm going to just guess, if not educated guess, that Gary Kubiak and then John Elway are sitting back thinking, I don't know about this. It's looking a little shaky to them. I think it's starting to look shakier and shakier to everybody in the NFL. And even though it gave Johnny some credibility, that Adam Schefter wrote that, in fact, Kubiak had actually just checked in with Johnny, discussed this possibility. I think all of Johnny's behavior since then has undermined and undercut any credibility that discussion would have given Johnny.
I hope you're wrong. I doubt you are. I'm rooting for Johnny Manziel, but you know what I said. I thought that he should take the year off, just get his life in order and do what he needs to do. I'm just as concerned, equally concerned about Josh Gordon from the standpoint that, Skip, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure. I know he applied for reinstatement.
Yeah.
But was it granted?
No.
Because
No,
I think that Roger Goodell said at the owners' meeting, that he'll set aside some time to review the case, you know, and do what he has to do. The point that I'm trying to make is that if you are Commissioner Roger Goodell, and you know you have the decision to make about reinstating Josh Gordon. If you're Josh Gordon, why are you in Hollywood and why are you hanging out with or living with Johnny Manziel, who's been all over the news, presumably for things that are problematic, obviously?
Yep.
That just doesn't make any sense. That's just a flagrant absence of intelligence. Because what you don't want is to be seen or perceived as being in environments that you don't need to be in while you're applying for reinstatement into the National Football League. That makes absolutely no sense. I know how tight they are. I spoke to both of them last year during the NBA Finals. I wish them nothing but the best. When I was with them, I'm telling you right now, they weren't doing anything wrong. They both had a bottle of water. They didn't, you know, they were lucid. They weren't inebriated. Nothing like that. There was nothing like that going on. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that. But nevertheless, you know, perception is reality in this day and age. And if you're Johnny Manziel and you're trying to be the quarterback of an NFL team, essentially a leader, and you're being perceived as an individual that's more interested in partying and having a good time rather than maintaining focus and doing the kind of things that you need to do, that's not going to ingratiate you with the reigning defending Super Bowl champions and their fan base. That's not a level of trouble that they want. And in the case of Josh Gordon, that just makes it even worse. So it's just not a good picture. It's not a good sign. Like I said, I hope you're wrong about what could potentially happen to Johnny Manziel in terms of interest from football teams, particularly the Denver Broncos. But I doubt that you are wrong. I think that you're absolutely right. If I'm John Elway and I'm Gary Kubiak and I'm reading this stuff in the news and I'm aware of this stuff, it's a problem. You got to remember that Kevin Sumlin, the coach of Texas A&M, who was Johnny Football's coach when he was there, was literally on the record doing a radio interview a couple of weeks ago saying that Johnny Manziel is going to have to change some things in his life because no matter whether it's true or false, the perception that he's putting out there is going to make teams highly reluctant to touch him. That's your college coach talking about you. You know, that's numerous NFL teams talking about you, NFL pundits and commentators. I mean, the list goes on. And for somebody that needs a break from all of it, Johnny Manziel doesn't seem to be doing himself any favors. Yeah.
Quick point of order on Josh Gordon. I'm going to assume he is maximum tested. So to get reinstated, he would have to undergo consistent testing. So go ahead.
But what you also have to take into account with Josh Gordon is because you were banned and you're being reinstated, it's not just a matter of you being tested. It's a decision on the part of the commissioner in the National Football League as to whether or not they want to give you a chance to even have to endure all of that. It's at their discretion. Because if you have a problem, all right, or had a problem, what if they're not convinced that your problem has been resolved? You know, they could sit there and allow you to come back and they can reinstate you and say, okay, we'll test you every week. We'll test you religiously. Or they could sit up there and say, you know what? You're not worth the trouble. And that is entirely possible. I don't think it'll happen, but it's entirely possible, particularly when you're giving them the perception that your past problems could be current problems. And why wait for an opportunity to impugn the league when we can eradicate that possibility altogether?
No, I hear
These are the kind of things that Josh Gordon has to think about.
I'm with you. I'm going back to sum this up to some quotes recently from Josh McCown, who was the starting quarterback, obviously, in Cleveland ahead of Johnny last year. They spent a lot of time together in the football context in quarterback meetings. And I'm just paraphrasing what Josh recently said, but he said Johnny can definitely play in this league if he decides that football is his priority. And that's what I've never understood. Is partying his priority or is it football? Because all the signals say that actually partying is more important to Johnny than actually studying and working hard to be a quarterback, which is just mind-blowing to me.
Well, I think you're being very kind to Johnny in this respect. You're mentioning party as the problem. Teams wouldn't like it But if you were dedicated to the sport of football and you went out and performed, as much as they wouldn't like it, they're not going to sweat that. It's what comes with the partying that has everybody concerned.
Well,
whether it's drinking,
yeah,
whether
no,
it's drinking and
with you
driving,
on that.
whether
we
it's
both agree
domestic
he's got
issues.
big issues.
That's
okay.
what they're talking. That's what they're talking about. That's their concern. They're thinking about the fact that by you partying, what else are you doing? If all they had to worry about is, damn, stay out the club, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. They're worried about what he's doing because of the party.
Right. Well, remember, the one party he went to was on the Saturday night ahead of a... He wasn't going to play in a game, their final game, and he takes off and goes to Vegas in a disguise. Really? That's
and then they caught him in the hotel.
That's hitting bottom.
Listen, if he gets an opportunity,
there's plenty of players.
Go ahead, Stephen A.
There's plenty of professional athletes. There's plenty of professional athletes that go out and party, but they go home afterwards. They don't sit up there and do some of the things it is alleged that Johnny has done, and that's what the issue is.
Got it.
Getting a shot in Denver would be absolutely huge. Speaking of Saturday night in Vegas, it's not just the Warriors playing Saturday night. Another great sporting event. Manny Pacquiao has a big fight this weekend against Timothy Bradley. But what impact will this fight have on a potential Manny versus Floyd Mayweather rematch? We'll break that down next.